Today's video is loose watercolour daffodils. I'm going to take you through step by step in real time and try and show you how I approach it. I've done a very light sketch, you might be able to see. If I was doing this on my own, I probably would rub out some of that pencil mark because it's horrible and shows through your watercolour paints. But I do like to sketch out and work out where I'm going to put my daffodils first. So the things you need before you start, a reference photo. Now I'm using this reference photo, which is from the website Unsplash. I've actually turned it around because I prefer things facing to the left, but on the actual website the photo's around the other way. Some watercolour paper, I've got 300-gram paper here, and I'm going to use Daniel Smith paints, but you can use any paints you like, and you need really a range of different tones of yellows and orangey colours and a green, or you can mix your own green up. I'm going to use some deep sap green, yellow ochre, some Hansa yellow, some cadmium yellow light, a little bit of quinacridone burnt orange, and I don't know about these two over here yet. I might use some gold and some Prussian blue. I'm going to wait till we get started before I use them. So just put those to one side because I've got them all out in my paint tray. Now what I like to use is some scrap paper always. I have a bit of scrap next to me to test my paints out and the colours that I'm mixing, and also kitchen roll is a must. Pot of clean water, and I'm going to use a big brush initially for the first wash, and then two smaller brushes, a number 8 and a number 4 maybe. Haven't quite decided. I don't really know what I'm doing too much in advance of doing it. So my first step is to lay down some yellow colour. Now I'm not putting it exactly where the petals are. I'm going in the direction I kind of want some yellow coming all the way down in an arc. That's my plan. And then we'll go in and put the daffodil shapes in. So I'm going to start with the lightest colour. With watercolours you do go light to dark. I'm just going to blob in. Should have taped this paper down. It's not very good quality paper, this isn't. It's not handling the wet very well. Just going in a bit of an arc, and I want it kind of coming down the end here. And I might even just splatter some around as well. Okay, so that's my first wash. Now, get rid of the big brush. And now I'm going to start putting in a bit more concentrated paint, not as wet, and just start to put in where the petals are going. And then you'll notice the kind of trumpet in the middle is a lot darker. Just initially putting that in. On the edges of the trumpet. You probably end up putting that in even darker, but just initially with the dark. Here I'm using that Hansa yellow, which is quite a bright, vibrant colour, but I might go over with some orange. I've lost a bit of definition in this, and just lift a bit of paint up and around the edge, which you can just do with a dry brush. Just go lifting and then dabbing onto your kitchen roll. I'm going to go in with a little bit of orange. Not sure I like that orange. I might just mix it in with a bit of the yellow. You might find it easier once you've done that first wash to walk away for a little bit and let things dry. But you can see already they're beginning to look a bit like daffodils. Again, I'm just going back in, definition. And then in the middle, if you notice on the reference photo, there's a bit of green, just in two kind of prongs, and then a yellow coming down the middle. So that's come out quite effective. And just leave that to dry. Get on with its thing a minute. I'm mixing all my yellows up here. I'm just gonna I don't want too harsher lines. It's trying to stay loose, so you want an impression of the petals, but nothing too harsh. And I've not gone in and done the trumpet on that one yet. Keep leaving things to dry for a little bit, I think. missed that one. Didn't put this trumpet in. See, I kind of go in, and then I'm going in with a clean, drier brush to just kind of smooth it around and push it and put it where I want it. It's a bit drier now, so I'll go in and put a bit more in there. And again, just so it's not too harsh when you've done it, just go around with a brush. Just going to lift a bit of that, it's gone a bit wild. Just getting that balance and just keep going back and putting a bit more paint in, a little bit more, a bit of this, a bit of that. It's quite about building and layering. It dried quite a lot there. Now my pencil marks are showing through, which is very annoying. But hopefully you'll just sketch yours out and then rub your pencil out so that you can hardly see it. Just use it as a guide, because you can see just even the faintest pencil mark can show through. Okay, so shade in a bit around the base of the trumpet there. Just to make that trumpet bit stand out a little bit more. Do you go in with your yellow ochre? That's a bit darker. Gives a bit more definition. Now I'm a big fan of moon glow for shadowing, but it doesn't work on these, so I'm just sticking to more concentrated versions of the colours we're using. To put the shading in. And again, it's all very loose. You're just building and building that picture of the daffodils. So it's coming along, but you can see we've lost that. Now I might swap the orange. I'm not that happy with it. So you might have an orange in your palette, or you might have a tube of orange. Just go with what works. I'm going into my Winsor & Newton orange now. Just put a little bit extra. Quite like that one's looking nice. So again, I put it in and then I clean my brush and I'm pushing out towards the edge of the trumpet. Always loose. Just softens, keep softening. Now this was really too wet, I think, when I did that. So I'm going to go just go in again with the green. So I've mixed a bit of my deep sap green with a bit of yellow, so it's not too deep for this. I'm just going to lift a bit of that off. So I've gone in with the paint and then I'm going in with a clean brush, just lifting a bit off. And then some yellow ochre just to kind of go over. Trying to give the illusion of that trumpet and the depths going into it. And then this one I might do a similar thing, although on the picture it's not green, but we could just a little hint of it there, like that on that one maybe. And again clean and then push it back again. So while we're waiting for the daffs to dry, we can start looking at some of the stalks. We start with this one here, which on the reference photo, it's this one here. So you'll notice it's got a bit of the kind of dried up browny stuff around the edge. So I think I use my smaller brush for this and a bit of yellow ochre. And just and I'm going in with my green. It's quite a dark green. I'm just going to add some water to soften it. And then pull that away. So for the stalks and the green, I'm just going to go in and kind of think about where they might be. But again, this is very rough and loose. I'm putting some green in and then I'm pulling it away. Probably too much green in there, I don't really want that. Adding some green in amongst really put too much on. I can just say, actually, that's too much. Wipe it off. So loose, just a few bits of green. Can mix it up with different coloured green, with a bit of mixing a bit of yellow in. And then it's just a question of going in, thinking about adding a little bit more, maybe shading around the base of the trumpet. But remember to keep it soft if you're going for that loose look. And you can just keep building this up. So I need to walk away for a bit. Let it dry. And then the trick is knowing when you've fiddled enough. Don't over fiddle. Don't add too much detail, because we're looking for the, the loose, not the dark, and every little fiddle completed. Now you could add a bit of blue. I'm not sure if I want to. Let's see what it looks like. Yeah, quite like that. Just a few bits of blue coming through. You could go and put some blue up here, but I think that would be too much. In fact, I'm going to get rid of that bit. Tone it down a little bit. There. Once you've gone back and fiddled, you can add some more definition around. You can add some splatters, a little bit more detail again in the centre of the flower. Now, this is probably my favourite one. I didn't go too overboard with too many daffs or too much green. I think the balance of looseness here was about right. But yeah, so again, really loose. Went in and did a little bit of detail in the middle, little bit of detail here around the edge there as well. So that's the process. This one's looking a little bit mad because there's lots and lots of them, but I hope you found that useful.